You see, at the end, when I had to decide whether to run for this office or not, I had to think about my family. I have 4 young children. My oldest is only 9. My youngest is 2. And I knew that this would require me to be on the road a lot and away from them. But ultimately, what compelled me to run is this haunting image of the future, where America chose wrong and headed down a path it should not have. And we lost our unique and exceptional standing in the world. And I can envision my children, and you should envision yours and your grandchildren, turning to you and saying, America was once the greatest nation on earth, unparalleled in the history of all mankind. What happened? How could you let it get away? And what will our answer be? We were too busy? We had other things going on in our life? It was too complicated? There were people more famous than us running for office? There were other issues, other things I could run for that were easier? That can't be our answer. It certainly can't be my answer. Not after all the extraordinary things that this nation has made possible for me. So those are the stakes of our time. People will tell you politics are about a lot of other things, but that's the only thing that matters right now. What matters right now is who we intend to be 20 years from now. Will we continue to be the greatest single society in human history? Or will we become like everybody else? I know which road I want to choose. I think you know which road you want to choose too. That's what politics is about right now in the 21st century. And that's why I'm so blessed to be able to run a campaign about these issues at this time. And why I'm glad to be able to come to you and speak today about it. And I'll speak about it in front of virtually any audience that will have me. This is obviously an important audience, one of very informed people. And so I appreciate it. I thank you for having me. Now we can get into, I like to get into the question segment because it allows me to answer specific questions about public policy. And with that, I don't know if there's a forum for answering questions, or who's in charge here? All right, I'll answer any question you have. I just didn't know there was like a first question like there's at the White House, that you have to ask Helen Thomas first, right, guys? Isn't that the thing? Yes, sir.
In the overall scheme of things, there are a lot of problems, but our continued increase in indebtedness
Yes.
in communist China increases, I believe, about $25 billion a month. How high in the level of importance of national affairs do you consider this continued increase?
It is, from an economic perspective, and perhaps from an overall perspective, the highest single danger facing America from an economic perspective, certainly. I mean, there's some global military issues that we should be very concerned about. The debt is bigger than people understand for a lot of different reasons. One, it has to be paid. And ultimately, the way it's going to be paid back is through higher taxes. And corporations and employers know that. And so they understand that this debt has to be paid back, and they don't want to be the ones paying it back. So it's a negative job creator. The notion that somehow there'll be higher taxes eventually on people that make more money makes a lot of people decide they don't want to make more money and leave their money in the bank instead of going out and opening up a new business or expanding an existing one. That's why you have a lot of very wealthy people in America sitting on their money instead of becoming entrepreneurial with it, because they think that's going to just trigger higher taxes down the road. Same for companies. The second problem with it is interest rates. Interest rates will eventually have to go up as borrowers will demand a higher rate of return. Right now America is blessed because we are the global currency. The dollar is the global reserve currency. And so everybody, when times get tough like in Venezuela right now, they're starting to take over the banks. And so people rush and buy American debt as a way to secure their money, American dollars. That's a function of the fact that America is the global reserve currency. But as our debt grows and America's ability to repay this becomes questioned, the only way that you're going to be able to lure investors to buy your bonds and your T-bills is going to be by raising the interest rates, the rate of return on the debt, which is only going to make interest payments higher, which is only going to force you to raise taxes even more. The third is, and it's very real, is that you will have to basically take money out of the private market in order to pay this debt out. Every time you raise taxes, it's not just an annoyance for somebody. That's money they were going to spend or money they were going to invest that instead is going towards paying off debt. And so you're going to be taking currency out of the American marketplace and gearing it towards paying off debt. It's no different than if instead of being able to put money in your college savings account for your kids, you have to do it to pay off your mortgage. It's the same for America. Instead of being able to invest this private capital in existing new or creating new companies or growing existing ones, we'll have to dedicate more and more of that towards paying off debt. So it could be crippling in the long term. My biggest concern is there really isn't a serious effort right now to deal with the deficit. The administration is saying that in the early part of next year they're going to begin to offer deficit reduction plans. I encourage them to do it as soon as possible because it is a very, very serious ticking time bomb for America. And one of the reasons, quite frankly, why healthcare and the healthcare plans that are being put forth right now are untenable. Even if it was the greatest idea in the world, you're talking about the single largest expansion of entitlements in 4 decades at a time when American federal spending is already at a dangerously high level.